Greetings, my name is Maria Diaz and I'm accompanied by Samantha to provide a clear explanation of what is the force field analysis. The force field analysis was developed by Kurt Lewin in the 1940s. The purpose of he creating this force field is to properly identify those who were in favor of a change and those who were against it, and also to analyze what it will be the reasoning behind those factors.
What does force field analyst even mean? The project managers use force field analysts as a tool to understand the dynamics of change process. They wanted to identify the visual subject and the resistance behind the change. The force field analysts helped them to determine the driving forces and the restraining forces that were influencing the change. By visually identifying these forces, the project managers could estimate the direction of the project members' discussions and adjust their plans accordingly. Based on the force field analysts, the project managers were able to develop a strategy to encourage change. They understood the resistance behind the change and were able to address it effectively. The project managers were able to communicate the benefits of the change to the project members and motivate them to support the change. The force field analysts helped the project managers to overcome the obstacles that were preventing the change from being successful and enable them to achieve their goals. When should it be used? Force field analysts can be useful at different stages in coaching or mentoring, looking at the forces which are holding a problem in place and those pushing for change. This analyst can help the client to identify blind spots, new perspectives, and a point of leverage. Test the realism of a goal and commitment to it. Force field analysts can help identify the forces which support goal achievement and those that are restraining it. And test the feasibility of an action plan.
So how the force field analysis works? So as I explained earlier, there needs to be two sides, the driving force and the restricting force. In order to analyze each side, there needs to be imbalance. So there needs to be a desire from one of these sides to have a change or restrain the change. If each side is okay in their part, it will be equilibrium. So there will be no need to do a force analysis because in the current situation, if you apply in the workplace, it will be stable. So in order to analysis each driving force or restraining force, we need to provide a collection of data. The driving force, it can be incentive, the opportunity to try new technology, changing markets for the company to, invest in new areas of marketing, new employment, new positions, also the desire of the personal change. This is our examples of things that if we apply it on the workplace. Um, a restraining force are on the other side. It will be the fear of the employees trying something new, um, the lower capacity of the supervisors, making the change possible. If they don't have the desired leadership um, to make the change, they can jeopardize the encouragement, to provide the change and also the guidance to the rest of the employees. And as also I mentioned, the hostility of the change. People sometimes they don't like change. They like to stay currently in their status and the way they are. So when they're encouraged to make a desired change to improve their performance at the workplace, they can feel a sense of hostility and towards that change. So one way the project manager can analyze this force analysis is to collect data from each side, so the driving force and the restraining force. They will provide a number from each side, how impact will be the driving force and how impactful will be the restraining force. Its side needs to be, like I mentioned, numerically order. That way they can view which is the high impactful factor. And if it is a restraining factor, how it can be moved and modified to, improve the probability of the change. So the force analysis allows project managers what is causing that hostility of a change to make it possible, plan accordingly and convince and minimize those factors that are decreasing the probability of conducting the change. In that case, this is only as a sample if it is provided on work settings. So that will be how the force field will be applied.
The advantages and disadvantages of force field analyst. First thing for advantages is help clients reflect. The second thing is identify the factors. And lastly, increase probability of success. These are the advantages of force field tool. And the disadvantages is a visual representation of that client, and it's not science per se.
So here's a good example of the force field analysis. And you can see in one side you have the force that wants to change, and the other side the ones that don't want to change at all. Each side has a numerical scale. You name your factors by collecting all the data. So I was mentioning the project manager will collect all the data of the influencing factor that wants change and also collect a data about all the factors that's against that change. After that, the project manager will provide estimate how the numerical, how influential is each factor. Then you have a total of how much it will be influencing factors against it and also influential factors towards that change. After the data is and results are proven, the project manager can decide what factors, in this case, as you see in front of us, is you have more factors against it. So they need to work on possible alternative to decrease those restraining factors, the factors that are against it, to make sure the desired change or goal is accomplished.
And here is our reference page to all of our information that we found for force field analysts. I hope everybody enjoyed our presentation, and thank you for sitting through it.